Welcome to Lynnwood Election Watch 2013. I'm Teresa Wippel, publisher of Lynnwood Today, and we are here with one of our mayoral candidates, and that is Don Gough, the current mayor of Lynnwood. Welcome.
Hi.
I'd like to start out by having you talk a little bit about your background, how long you've been in the city, how long you've been mayor, and just what your goals are for being reelected.
Yeah, I started my law practice out here in 1979, and about 4 years later, my wife and I, having recently gotten married, decided to actually move out here. So in 1983, we had a chance to buy a house here, so we're going to burn the mortgage here 30 years later. So
Nice.
that's what's going on now. I was elected to the city council, actually elected in 95. I served January 1, 1996 up until 10 years, and then I've been mayor for basically 8 years.
Okay, all right. And so this would be your third term if you're elected
Yes.
mayor. Okay, very good.
When I'm elected mayor.
I mean, well, I have to say that to everybody. I'm not making any predictions about elections. Talk a little bit about, just in terms of the qualities of a leader. I've been trying to get this through with the mayoral candidates as well. When you talk about leadership and what that means to you, what kinds of qualities and skills do you think you bring to the mayor's job that are well suited to lead Lynnwood?
For the last 8 years, what I've done is one of the very first things we need to have for our city. When I was on the city council, it was difficult to get a direction for the city because we hadn't developed a vision for the city. So one of the things I did, we had 400 residents developing over 4,000 ideas to do a vision. What do you want for Lynnwood? What would you like to have? So they focused on, I can go on for hours, but they focused on the idea of, good economic development, public safety services, but even more importantly, health. What kind of healthy things can we do for the city, and we can improve that? So that was one of the things, we led that effort. What was exciting about that is you didn't have to do anything. The citizens did it all. They organized it, they put it together, and I actually wasn't involved in writing any of it. I simply worked the process to let 400 people do that. Another 100 of them came on later and validated what we wanted to do. What happens with a vision, when you have a good vision and it lays out and the citizens say this is what we really want to do, it sets up a series of priorities. There's no such thing as kind of like one priority just for the city. There's a whole series of priorities, whether it's a public safety, whether it's economic development, or how do we design healthy programs, or parks and recreation, like our fantastic recreation center. It's a matter of those priorities coming forward, and that's what you sit down and do. So you lead people. Without a vision, as they say, without a vision, the people kind of perish or don't do well. That's the first thing that you do as a leader. Number two is when you run into the extraordinarily difficult budgets that we've had to do, you have to be willing to stand up and really take some really big hits in terms of having to cut things and whatnot. We, in our budget for 2011 and 12, generated approximately $22 million of cuts. The council decided they wanted to add some revenues and some taxes on that, and in the end you have to sit down and say, that's what you're going to do. You're going to stand up and you're going to make the tough decisions, and those were very tough. We had to lay some people off, some things we could do, we can't do. I got people running in the race who want to put things back. Well, that's nice, so would I like to put them back, but you have to have the revenue there to go do that. Probably the last item would be, is that when the city council was in the process of passing a budget and whatnot, I do have, as mayors, all separately elected mayors have, we do have state law authority to be able to do things we need to do to keep budget expenditures under control. Maybe later on I can talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk about that. I think that's important. So let's talk a little bit about, in terms of the citizen involvement process that you had during that time when you created some visions. One of the things that, when I'm doing my research about the census, the recent census, and kind of how Lynnwood has changed over the years with,
yeah.
many more senior citizens, increasingly more diverse. And of course, you also have some challenges in terms of just the general fact that the citizens, the average income is about $18,000 less than surrounding areas. And so when you look at all those factors, and I guess a growing senior citizen population as well, how do you address that in terms of some of the services that you're trying to offer, or bringing those citizens together to get some involvement in the city and feel like they're a part of the solution and part of the city?
Well, when we got 400 people involved, the first thing we did is we took the city and we broke it down. We're only 36,000. We broke it down to basically 9 neighborhoods. So we actually had people just from those neighborhoods coming. We only told those neighborhoods about when the meetings were there, so we could really get a feel for the citizens. So they sat down and worked out a number of things, and they addressed very wholeheartedly the issue that they were concerned about public safety services. That provides services for everybody, regardless of age or whatnot. We have a tremendous, just the history of our town, we have a tremendous amount of affordable housing. Outside of Everett, percentage-wise, we're better than Everett in terms of affordable housing. But you have to be able to willing to support that in providing the services that are out there. We've had historically some special services for people in low-income Section 8 housing, that kind of stuff, which we have to provide them safety services and the kinds of things that are gonna make their life better, if you put it that way. And we just try to sit down and work the best we can, again, within a lot less revenues
Yeah.
than we've had recently. So,
Yeah. And do you have some ideas for addressing the revenue problems that the city has and trying to, figure out how to solve some of the budget problems that you've been faced with?
Well, the long-term issues are really very simple, and we've been doing that. I sat down with one other council member about a decade ago, and we created an economic development department, which did not exist, believe it or not, in the city of Lynnwood, yet we are a huge economic engine. We generate, in terms of taxable sales in Lynnwood, over $2 billion of taxable sales in a given year. We need to keep growing that. We need to simply do better. We simply need to do it. Like I just mentioned, we just opened a brand new store with 35 new employees now coming into our city. A tremendous asset, 20,000 square feet of, real moving, exciting kinds of space for people to do the things you have to do to make it go. The problem that exists is with economic development in Washington State, there really isn't something that you're going to do that's really going to change the revenue things. You really have to grow the city, and then you ask them to come and do the economic activity that then generates the sales tax. We have a huge amount of sales tax in our city, but it's all about setting the platform, asking people to come and to engage in that, because we don't have other tax systems that are directly dealing with that. City Council chose in the last budget to max out virtually all the taxes, utility taxes. They increased the property tax by, I believe, 11%, and those are some pretty tough things. Personally, I disagreed with that, because when you say, what do you do for citizens that maybe have a lot less income? The last thing you do is max out their utility taxes, and at the same time decide that you're going to raise their property taxes by 11%. That hurt a lot of people, and we heard about it. But to the extent that I disagreed with that, vetoed those, that didn't happen. So you got to make those tough choices, and I respect the fact tough choices were made, but that was really tough on a lot of people in our community. But we're going to go through that. We're going to make it.
When you talk about attracting new businesses to Lynnwood, and one of the things that I, in doing some research, had heard from some folks was that there's a perception anyway, and I guess some small businesses feel like maybe Lynnwood isn't the most friendly place to start a small business. Have you heard that at all from people?
Oh, I hear a number of complaints when they disagree with the kinds of things we need to have for businesses. But I'll be quite honest with you, we just had a discussion just the other night with regard to building and fire codes and a number of things. And the staff basically works very, very hard with businesses to facilitate them coming in. We create an economic development department to facilitate businesses coming in. We sit down and we'll have individual meetings any number of times. We even the other last few months, we actually did walkthroughs, gratis, not even that people were going to do a business in an area, but they were looking at it. So we sent out our fire staff and other people actually just walk through and give them an idea what we would think about them starting a business. We do a lot of things. We put together a one-stop permit center, by the way. We took all of the things across the city. We put the one permit center together. We've gotten rave reviews of the people that have used it. And a lot of times people are complaining because maybe something that happened before I was mayor or whatever it is, and they kind of hold those thoughts. That's not, generally speaking, what's going on in the city and what we go and do. We get a lot of positive feedback and letters, thank you calls, everything. It's really very, very good, and they work very hard at it.
Okay. So maybe the advice would be to come check out things like that. If you haven't been there yet, they might see something they weren't prepared for.
Particularly the permit center. Now, in the budgetary shortfall that we had, then we had to cut back some hours there, but it's all there. You can come in to get a permit, and all the staff is assembled in one place, one time, so you don't have to go 7, 8 buildings and go through all kinds of things to do it. We've made those changes. A lot of people haven't picked up that that's just in the last 3 years or so, 4 years, that we've been doing that. So we made the change, but not everyone's had the opportunity maybe to experience the change in service.
Okay. Let's talk about a couple of other issues that have been in the news lately related to city issues. One is just the state auditor's office and the golf course findings, and I guess the consultant's going to be coming up with a report soon on that. But what is your feeling about kind of next steps for the golf course and to make sure it is viable?
The consultant was here yesterday, met with the city council last night, and has proceeded today to interview the staff, stakeholders at the golf course today. I was out there, I've been in touch with him several occasions during these last couple of days when he's here, and he'll be back on July 17th, and we have every reason to believe that he's going to be quite supportive of the options we had, but we are getting that independent look, if you will, as to how the business works. It is a separate independent business. It is a business that needs to sustain itself in the long run. With regard to the auditor's report, the auditor, we didn't do anything wrong. What we did is we've done it. We did an interfund loan that we needed to go do. Life's been very tough. By the way, last night, it'd be interesting to hear him talk about the trend of golf in the entire country, which started to decline 10 years ago significantly. There's just course after course that's got issues, and so we need to sit down and do that. What the auditor said is we're not sure that if you have an interfund loan from particular resources that we couldn't necessarily pay it back. We're fully aware of that. As a matter of fact, the reason why we were trying not to make this a political issue is, you see, I brought the whole issue of the golf course up 18 months ago, and the council has had some difficulty engaging and trying to figure out what it wants to do on that whole score. Well, we decided, fine, we'll go get a third party independent person to take a look at what our recommendations are from the administration, and we have every reason to believe that we're probably in pretty good shape as to where we need to go. But on July 17th, we'll have a chance for them to, for him to come back and do his report, and we're going to move down the road, and we're going to have a golf course, and it's going to be open, and it's going to be doing, and it provides a great service right now. We just need to get a few more people out there, and we need to work on our marketing. That's really the big thing for the golf course, because we've kind of word of mouth and that kind of stuff. We need to really work hard on the marketing. From the private sector, by the way.
Yeah.
That's our suggestion.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I know I was talking with somebody else about, the fact that Mountain Lake Terrace finally ended up closing theirs, and, they're turning it into a park, and I don't know if that's the trend for a lot of places, but it certainly seems to be a struggle.
It's a very tough industry. When our golf course started, it was like really one of, except for some of the municipals, it really was a very unique course. It still is. It's short, it's what they call a niche course, kind of an executive thing, doesn't take quite as much time to go do that. However, you still have to build that particular part of the business. You still have to make those investments, and very difficult to do. Not just the recession, but again, as the expert talked about us last night, over a decade, the entire industry has been going down.
Yeah.
But we're going to work through it, and we're going to make this thing continue to happen.
Okay, very good. So another issue that I know you've probably had an opportunity to talk a lot about in the last few years, and that's been red light cameras. And oh gosh, there's trains. We said we might have to confess that we're not in Lynnwood by
That's
the
the
sound of
second
the train.
train, by the way. Second train.
Yes, but this one's much louder than the first. So yes, we are on near the Edmonds waterfront filming this. So, but yeah, the red light cameras. Is that an issue that you think is still top of mind for folks, or do you think people are used to it?
No. There's a small group of people who are concerned about it. The city council wanted to be involved in the experimental activity of doing red light cameras 10, 12 years ago. And when we had a chance to, the legislature allowed cities to go do it, we did install them. Now recently the city council decided they wanted to go out and have a big event, if you will, with regard to that. Most of the people that showed up did not live in the city of Lynnwood. The 4 letters that I got right after that, there's 4 or 5 letters of people that really took the time to talk about it, were all from Lynnwood, and they said, we want safe streets. They weren't from Spokane, which we've got people from Spokane or from various other areas. Now, the red light cameras do allow us to do a number of things, and as the mayor, I'm deeply concerned about a couple of these. Let me be specific. Having police officers jumping on motorcycles into moving traffic is very dangerous. And the fact, if we can enforce and stop people from running red lights, which means a 3,000-4,000 pound vehicle moving through at fairly high rates of speed, putting people out there to go do it is very dangerous. We had a number of occasions when our officers get injured in doing things. That's a major situation for us, a major concern for me, and so we're trying to use some technology to address that issue. We have a lot of that activity. We got a lot of people that roll over Lynnwood, if you will, move through Lynnwood, and we're trying to make sure that we have some better things. But of the people that I meet, when you talk to them doorbelling and talk them on their doorstep and whatnot, overwhelmingly the people say, no, I want to have safer streets. Why wouldn't you want to have safer streets unless concern about maybe your son or daughter is just learning how to drive, is not going to get T-boned in the middle of an intersection? Are there issues and people got, yeah, we understand that, but that's not the predominant people who live here. There are people who don't live here who want to raise these issues, but by and large we're there. And by the way, there are only about 10 or 11 of those cameras in the city. However, we have a state-of-the-art transportation system. We have cameras on all of our light posts. Why? Because we have to move all that traffic, and they're not red light cameras. I write that, I talk about that. They're not, when you see the pan-tilt zoom cameras on top of it, what they're doing is they're counting cars and ensuring safety. Well, like when our police officers and fire have to go through they assist in making sure we move the traffic. There's only about 10 or 11 of the red light cameras. I don't remember exactly, but that's roughly what it is. So
I learned something new today. I didn't know that.
yeah, there's only that. It's on specified intersections where there really is significant issues of people going through red lights. One final item. Let me be very clear here. The red light camera is catching cars that are doing 20, 30, 40% over the stated speed who enter the intersection after the light is red. They don't, going through it and it turns red, there's nothing there. These are people entering the intersection after the light has turned red when other people are supposed to be green and going through their thing. That's why it's so dangerous. Now, most people and most of the media, I'm going to thank you for giving me this opportunity, all the other media in Seattle and whatnot have refused to broadcast that particular explanation of it. They want to talk about the conflict. They don't want to talk about the reality that we're talking about very dangerous situations there.
Okay.
Hope I'm not too overly passionate.
I think you are very passionate, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's safety is what this thing's really all about, and we do know that, and people get it that live in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So, speaking of traffic, Sound Transit and the new Link Light Rail that's going to be coming to town. I know that the council had recently voted to oppose the maintenance center that they're hoping to put in Lynnwood.
October last year.
Yeah. What are your feelings about that, and how, as mayor, do you see yourself kind of helping to lead the city with the new light rail coming in?
Number one, Sound Transit is voted by the people. We're part of that district who want to have that happen. We're there to facilitate that. We'd like to come quicker because it really will get people from point to point to jobs and various other places. We are home to two of the largest parking lots, transit centers, whatever you want to call them. And we want to be able to hook a lot of people in to be able to get to and from without having to get into their cars. Sound Transit is there. I'm a member of the North Transit Corridor Leadership Group to take and talk about with all the other cities from Lynnwood down to Northgate. So we have that regular meetings that we have to try to make sure we're trying to work through the issues and problems that are there. We do have reaching out right to our public right now, and whether those meetings are coming up whatever time, but there will be 2 meetings in short order of actually for our citizens to understand what is or to receive a presentation as to what are these particular projects. One is a maintenance facility, but the other one is 3 different routes coming up I-5 and then turning into Lynnwood. Are they going to go one route, the other route, whatever the routes are, in order for them to actually hook up to our transit center? It's very important. You talk about economic development. By the way, that vision I was telling you about, they talked about us trying to make sure that we're a regional model. My citizens said, let's be a regional model about an integrated regional system and local systems working together. And we want to do these things, but they said, no, we really want to work about it. We really want to be about that. And the answer is yeah, and we're working hard on getting the thing done. That is Sound Transit. It is an independent agency. It has its own board. It has its own taxing authority. But we have to sit there and work constantly because we have a lot of land issues and things. Just this week, we actually doorbelled, and what I'm saying is we door hung every business in the area that's directly affected, and we had volunteers doing that. We had another set of volunteers hanging every one of like 3 blocks to the west So people will have a special notification, be able to come and participate. They need to know what's going on. Forget the idea what Sound Transit wants to do. We as a community need to decide what we're going to go do. And that's where we're doing 2 meetings in the next 10 days to go do that, which I won't mention the dates because it'll be long before the July 8th thing. So anyway, but we're working hard to get our people informed and underway because they need to go in and impact Sound Transit in terms of their looking at their solutions,
Right.
which are just coming up, by the way.
Yeah.
Those solutions are just coming up. So.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. You know, when you, and again, an issue that I think we were talking about with some other folks here, when you talk about, again, this division and kind of what Lynnwood is, and a lot of people I speak with have a hard time defining, people who live in Lynnwood, kind of where the city center is, or kind of where the gathering place is, or kind of what Lynnwood is, and you're the mayor, how do you answer that question?
It's very simple. When I got there, we had an unresolved project called the City Center Project. I can tell you right where the City Center is. Unfortunately, we have to wait for private capital and a better economy to actually make that occur. But I was very pleased that under my watch, we actually finished the studies, the economic feasibility analysis, you name it, number of studies we had to go through. We've now set it up. It's there available for a tremendous amount of investment, but it's not going to happen until we get private equity and the idea of a better economy to be able to grow that. But the city center will arise and will come out of the ground, if you will, literally speaking, in that triangle, which is basically Fred Meyer's over to the freeway, I-5, 196 down, and then 44th Avenue right in that zone, which, by the way, fits perfectly, literally right next door to the transit center, which literally sits next door to putting a lot of population that are going to get a chance to live in new housing, which is designed to be part of a kind of an urban center kind of concept and whatnot. One of our primary principles is there's no way that this is going to get out and affect single-family neighborhoods. By the way, I live in a single-family neighborhood some short distance from there, and there are lines and what we want to preserve, what you have in single family. Once you lose a single-family home, you never get it back. The economics won't allow you to do that. But we do have it designed. It is approved. It is sitting there waiting, and unfortunately, we have to wait for the economy and the private equity to come in and say that they're really going to take advantage of what's there. But it's set up, it's approved, it's ready to roll. So we're there. Not unlike a lot of other cities, it takes 10, 15, 20 years to get these things off the ground. So it's taken us quite a while. We started in 1999, and we got it put together in about 10 years, but we'll have to wait for the rest of it. But I'll tell you one thing, transit to that area, being able to live there and actually have those kinds of services and opportunities and stores and jobs, it's going to be quite something.
Well, that does indeed seem like a central place, so that sounds
That's where it is at the moment. All I can say is on the history of the city oscillated between 99 and then they cut the freeway through. And so what happened is, as the city was oscillating growth relative to 99 and I-5, it kind of didn't land anywhere.
Right.
But that's the literal history of why we're kind of spread out, and we don't have like a central area. But we've made that investment in time. We spent a lot of time and effort to do that.
Great. Okay. Well, a couple of other big picture questions. I'm starting with, what do you think Lynnwood's, how would you define Lynnwood's greatest strength, and what is its greatest weakness at this point?
Well, we see that Lynnwood has a great deal more to offer than it looks on the surface. We do have some very excellent neighborhoods that people have an opportunity to stay in, and we're trying to protect our single-family neighborhoods, to say the least. We were designed, historically, we are the commercial hub for this neck of the woods, and we're proud of that. And when we say we have a great deal more to offer, it's not just where you can live and you can work and play and have affordable housing and whatnot, but also that we are proud to be there, that a lot of people say they don't really go much beyond Lynnwood. If they really want to get something, it's usually there, and people really do like that. We do pay the price that there's a lot of traffic. We've discussed those kinds of things. Traffic is an issue and a problem, but when you go literally and you talk to citizens door to door and that kind of stuff, as we do all the time, and now particularly in this campaign season, the issue really comes down to people understand that they can adjust slightly and maybe not be in the peak traffic area and whatnot. The citizens are very, very wise about how they want to choose to engage the community. But we're there, we're the hub of the South County area. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, and we have tremendous amounts of development that are going on there that are even going to just be more interesting, especially like Lynnwood High School and the old Lynnwood High School site and what's going on there, and the other developments that are coming in. It's exciting, to say the least.
Okay. So would the weakness be traffic then? Is that?
No, we have to deal with the reality.
Yeah,
A lot of people want to come.
Yeah.
And the other problem is there's no way to get to Edmonds, by the way, generally speaking.
It is hard.
Well, if you come from the south, then you can use the road that specifically goes in. I forgot the name of it right at the moment, 205th, and then it turns into. But when you really talk about the rest of them, they all come through Lynnwood, whether it's from the north or directly from the east. So we understand our role in life. We don't always appreciate having to have that much traffic, but we understand the role, and we are where we are, and that's probably not going to change where we are. So we just have to manage it. By the way, one of the things that we tried to do to really deal with that, and that is, remember those cameras I was telling you about, are hooked into an absolutely, the University of Washington has recognized our traffic management center, as really a state-of-the-art operation, and we basically serve traffic all the way from Edmonds and the county line all the way up to like 128th. We serve the county, the other cities, and we try to manage that whole flow of traffic. I don't know if people can remember, but we did have that problem when a tanker truck blew up on I-5.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, well, that was before we had this, but we have those situations where things get diverted off of I-5, where we have to really deal with just an emergency traffic situation, not just our regular, but tremendous volumes. And we have a state-of-the-art traffic center, and happy to get it done under my watch. It was languishing for a while. We got that one done, got a lot of things done.
Very good. Okay. Well, we're going to be coming to the last couple of minutes, and I wanted to give you a chance to kind of summarize, kind of a message you'd like to leave with voters. But I wanted to ask you one other question. As the incumbent mayor, one thing that you always end up having to deal with is the fact there are people who are running to take your job.
Really?
And
okay.
and I'm relatively new to Lynnwood politics, so I don't have some background that maybe some other folks would have. But I'm sure that things will come up in terms of people who will take the usual political pot shots at you and say they would be a better leader than you or whatever. How do you answer critics who might say that there's time for a change? I mean, because this happens in every mayoral election. It's time for a change, and I'm a better leader than the incumbent or whatever. I'm just going to give you an opportunity right now to answer those folks before the criticism even comes out.
Well, I'm going to do better than that. You see, I had to run for mayor one time, and I criticized them as to being that I'm a better leader and whatnot.
Oh, so you know.
The citizens, I've spent 10 years on the city council, 8 years as mayor. People know who I am. I have a particular brand. I'm very straightforward. I'm very standing up, and we're going to do it. If anything, I can be criticized for is being a little too candid on occasion. But you know what? Citizens really appreciate the clarity and the clearing of the air when you got to say what you got to do. You don't make $22 million in budget cuts without offending somebody. You can't possibly make the decisions that need to get made in the current economy without offending somebody. So the answer is you just learn about being a mayor is you basically get accused about everything that you can possibly imagine. And the answer is it's not particularly accurate, and people do that. Since 1993, I think every election we've had have had at least, I think on one occasion had maybe 2 candidates in it. Most all of them have multiple times. In Lynnwood, it is a tradition that you're going to have 3, 4 more people that are running actively for the position. And you know what? I have to run a city. People criticize every day. It's the important things about the employees that come and say, Don, we're doing good stuff. You're helping us out, which is what part of what leadership does, helping other people do their jobs effectively. But more important than that, there's just a lot of people who just really blow past the political, let's make up an idea or let's make up a particular problem. I was there as a challenger, and I lost one time and I won one time, and we're here now, and the number of votes that I've received since my 18 years in office is quite a bit. And so I have people that endorse and support me by going out to the polls, and we've not had any particular problem with that. But are you up for criticism? Yeah, it comes with the job.
That's
And you
right.
know what? You just can't get invested that people are going to say that. I mean, we have council meetings get fairly raucous on occasion and whatnot, and I apparently have earned the reputation of being, why are you so polite all the time? Well, my mother told me one thing. Number one, if someone's attacking you or making comments to you, well, number one, don't lower yourself to their level. Number two, keep your eye on the ball, because that's what it's all about, to get the job done. And we are getting the job done, and I mean done in a lot of areas. I wish I could have another hour or two. We could go into all of those things.
I think we'd run out of tape.
That we literally have done, yeah, and had a chance to go do. I can't go out of here without saying rec center, or recreation center. I just want to mention that.
Okay, very good.
Tremendous success. And by the way, there's one where we and the council members that support that got tremendous amounts of criticism. How could you possibly do this? Today it's a success. I have a difficult time finding anybody who maybe opposed that idea, because it really is a great thing we put together. And you got to have a vision. Citizens said that's what they wanted to go do. I'm here to make that vision come true. It's my duty to make sure that that vision becomes a reality. That's not rhetoric. We've been doing it. I think the rec center is the best example of something we had to do. You can't sit and have 30 years of chlorine eating up a building, if you will, which is the old style of stuff, and now we've actually have the tremendous one that's up there now. I mean, ask around. We're known all over the region. And that's the other thing about Lynnwood. We are a regional provider. It's not just transportation. We're regional providers, services, parks, recreation. And
Okay,
my staff's pretty proud of what they do, and I'm very proud of them.
very good. So is there a website people can go to learn more about you?
Not
Campaign
yet.
website?
Not yet.
It's coming to
Yeah,
come?
coming, yes.
Okay,
We're
very good.
working on that stuff. I'm sorry, I gotta say, I do have this job to do,
Yes.
which is 24/7, 365. And campaigning, I hate to break it to everybody, comes somewhat secondarily to the things that have to happen right now. I mean, this has been a tremendous week. I wish I could take an hour and tell you about what's going on. It's exciting, to say the least. I mean, like Lynnwood High School and what's going on there, it's wonderful.
Okay,
But
well, listen,
we haven't
thank
had the
you.
chance to do all that.
Thank you very much for coming by. We appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.